next week, all eyes will be on the Hyatt Regency Winfrey Hotel in Hoover for SEC Football Media Days. But until then, we're providing you right here, new week, fresh energy on what is the number one form, number one ticket here for Crimson Tide football news. In my own words, yours truly, Stephen Smith of Touchdown Alabama Magazine. Happy to have everybody checking out the show on today. Bringing you the show from the magic city of Birmingham, streaming this to you on YouTube. Speaking of the channel, go ahead right now, drop that thumbs up, give a like on the show, hit that subscribe button, turn all of those notifications on, hit that bell so that way you can get all the news, notes, information, entertainment, and coverage on your favorite program, that being Alabama football. Along with this, the show streaming to you on Facebook and Twitter as well. All forms of social media, providing you your number one team, your number one platform, number one form of athletics, that being Crimson Tide football. We got a lot to get to, quite a few things to talk about today. Opening things up with the famous buy, sell, or hold game. Getting into that six-pack of questions, talking about this season's brand of Alabama football. Then from there, we look at offensive coordinator Bill O'Brien. So many people excited about what can Billy O do where this offense is concerned after seeing the wow factor that Steve Sarkisian brought to the Crimson Tide in the last 2 years, especially the 2020 campaign. A lot of people excited to see what does Bill O'Brien do to continue this level of success. And then last but not least, we'll dive into their top 5 most important defensive players. If you look at the Crimson Tide this season, our own Justin Smith is scouting and recruiting analyst for TDA, on the road doing his recruiting thing on the recruiting trail, checking out all the different athletes at the various programs within the state. If you haven't done so already, be sure to check him out on Twitter, and also check out his show, The Process, every Tuesday and Thursday here on the YouTube channel. Justin Smith doing it like nobody else and tracking down all things recruiting. Guys, shout out my man John Ivory one time in the production studio doing his thing. And we want to hear from you, the Tide fans, today. You can do this by calling 205-448-1358. That's the number right there to let your voice be heard on the show. 205-448-1358. And one more time, 205-448-1358. Want to hear from you. As always, that daily Super Chat Go, $75. Daily Super Chat Go. Appreciate the support and the love and the appreciation and the joy that you guys give us here making this your show. But we dropping it now. Topic number one here of the conversation, that being the buy, sell, or hold game. And once again, another fun, interactive, game segment, me giving my thoughts here in terms of the Crimson Tide for this upcoming season. Got a cool six-pack of questions here, and we're going to give the answers, whether buy, sell, or hold. You know how this thing is done. So we're going to jump into this right now. So the first thought in the game of buy, sell, or hold goes to the Alabama football schedule in the sense of the opponent, the competition, and that being the Florida Gators. The Florida Gators will serve as the biggest challenge, as the most competitive matchup for Alabama football this season. Now, of course, Florida, good team. They bring a lot of talent back at quarterback. Emory Jones is back, and I think he is a Dan Mullen type of quarterback. When you talk about an individual that can be an explosive runner, a dual threat guy, he can also, throw the football, stretch the ball down the field. They've got some pieces back offensively, a few guys back defensively under Dan Mullen. That game is going to be hot, steamy, sweltering atmosphere down there, Ben Hill Griffin Stadium, the Swamp. Florida, Dan Mullen. That fan base is one of those fan bases that's asking Coach Mullen, Coach Dan, when is it going to be our time to get a big win like this over a program like a Coach Saban at Alabama that's constantly on top, that's constantly being dominant, that's constantly being elite, that's constantly being an exception here to the rule. So you look at this matchup Florida being the biggest challenge, being the biggest competition for Alabama this season. John, what was my answer?
I'm headed to the bank right now.
Absolutely, folks. Buying the Gators. That's going to be a very tough, intriguing, fun matchup down there in Gainesville, like that matchup between Alabama and Florida. Moving on here to the next thought here in buy, sell, or hold, going to the Alabama Crimson Tide defensively where this roster is concerned. And we look at one Henry To'oTo'o right now. Does Henry To'oTo'o, does he start at Mike linebacker? He starts at middle linebacker. Does this happen? And this is intriguing because To'oTo'o comes in from the transfer portal from Tennessee, a very decorative player, an elite player, a marquee guy, 148 total tackles in his 2 years with the Volunteers. He had 15 and a half tackles for loss there in the last 2 seasons. He's been either the team leader for total tackles and tackles for loss, or he's been, second or third. He's either been a team leader or been the team leader or among the team leaders. So we see at 6'2", 225 pounds, this young man brings a lot to the table here. But when you look at this here, he's also got, a Jalen Moody to fend off or to compete against. Christian Harris, we already know he's going to be one of the two, inside linebackers. But the thought is, Henry To'oTo'o. Does Henry To'oTo'o start alongside next to Christian Harris as that middle Mike captain linebacker? John, what's that thought right there for me?
Hold up.
Put a pause on that for just a moment. I like To'oTo'o, but because of Moody's experience, because Moody knows what Pete Golding likes to do within this defensive system, I want to see how the battle between Moody and To'oTo'o plays out in fall camp. Put a pin in that one for just a moment here. We get on into the next thought here in buy, sell, or hold, and this goes to the wide receiver room. Alabama's wide receiver room, and in particular, John Mechie. John Mechie will be a 1,000-yard target, a 1,000-yard player, 1,000-yard receiver in terms of receiving yards. You look at the Crimson Tide, and we've seen the players have been through the program in years past, especially guys that were the number one guy, whether that was Julio Jones, Amari Cooper, Calvin Ridley, Jerry Jeudy, Devonta Smith here recently. We've seen the number one guys become a 1,000-yard receiver at least once in their careers here. So here's John Mechie, and Coach Saban talked about it, a guy that can potentially be a first-round pick, top 15, top 20 guy. He is stepping into the shoes of carrying this group of receivers, carrying this group of targets, carrying this group of guys, building that chemistry there, or having that chemistry there, as I should say, with one Bryce Young. But the thought process is, even with how good Mechie is, even with how talented Mechie is, even with how explosive he is, can he be that 1,000-yard guy and continue this trend here that Alabama has had at the wide receiver position? Let's see my answer one time, John.
I'm headed to the bank right now.
I absolutely think John Mechie can do this. I think he can be, a 1,000-yard guy. I think his skill set, his experience, his explosiveness, his talent, and him having that chemistry and comfortability with Bryce Young, definitely see John Mechie being a 1,000-yard target here. As we continue with the game in buy, sell, or hold, the next idea here, we go to the defensive side of the ball. Once again, we pick up one Malachi Moore here in the secondary. And Malachi Moore had an incredible freshman year, explosive freshman year, and he's expected to do bigger and better things here as a second-year player, a sophomore in the fall. But the thought process is, will he lead Alabama in not just interceptions, but also pass breakups? Will he be the leader for the Crimson Tide in both categories? And it'll be interesting if he's able to do this just because of the fact that you've gotten so many guys in this defensive secondary when you look at a Josh Jobe, a Jalen Armour-Davis, a Jordan Battle, a DeMarco Hellams. I still think a Brian Branch deserves to be a starter somewhere in here, but Brian Branch more than likely coming off the bench. You've got a Kool-Aid McKinstry as freshman. He's going to be factored in there. Marcus Banks has got to be factored in there somewhere, coming in off the bench. He's a highly talented guy in his own right. So you have depth, you have talent, you have experience galore in the secondary. And, even though Malachi had the 3 interceptions a season ago, had some good numbers last year, the thought process is, does Malachi lead this team for both interceptions and pass breakups? John, what was my thought on that? I like Malachi, and I can see him leading in one of these 2 categories. Don't see him leading in both. I think at the end of the day, he would like to lead in interceptions anyway over pass breakups, but I'm going to take a sharp sale there on that one. We go on now to the next thought here in buy, sell, or hold. We go to the coordinators for the Crimson Tide, the coordinators here. So Bill O'Brien or Pete Golding. Will Alabama have at least a coordinator to get this Frank Broyles Award for top assistant coach in college football? We saw this last season with Steve Sarkisian and the tremendous job that he did running this offense, orchestrating this offense, coaching this offense. Nobody was confused. The guys played with no fear. Everybody on the field was a threat. Coach Saban did not even have to do any butt chewing toward Coach Sark because, the guy knew what he was doing after calling the offense. And aside from him, we've seen Kirby Smart take the Broyles Award. We have seen Michael Locksley take the Broyles Award. So we've seen a couple of these guys earn this prestigious honor here in the Nick Saban era. But the thought process is, will one of these 2 coordinators between Bill O'Brien and Pete Golding, will they take it here this upcoming season for the Crimson Tide? What you got for me, John?
I'm headed to the bank right now.
Like Pete Golding to take this Broyles Award, contrary to popular belief, I think the defense will have him get that. I think the defense will put him in a situation, in a favorable spot here to get that Broyles Award for top assistant coach. I buy that. I like that right there. So that takes us into final thought here. Buy, sell, or hold. And this goes to the Crimson Tide as a whole. Will we get a second straight undefeated season here for Alabama in terms of record? And going back to last year, it was so fun watching that. Even with COVID going on, shortened season, 10-game conference-only schedule. You had players miss games because of COVID. Assistant coaches missed games. Coach Saban even got sick, missed the Iron Bowl. But despite all of the different challenges and obstacles that were in the face of Alabama, this program still found a way to have a perfect, undefeated season, winning a national championship. And, of course, who could forget the glorious 2009 season, the first title of a Saban era, where this team went undefeated, went through the entire schedule, took care of Florida in the SEC championship, beat Texas for a national. But this question goes down to this particular team, where we see a second straight perfect season, second consecutive perfect season here when you talk about this year. John, drop that thought process of yours truly one time. Not quite seeing it happen. I still say Bama wins the national championship, but to go undefeated for a second straight time, that's hard. That's tough. That's challenging. So do not quite see a second consecutive perfect season. However, I do see a national championship there for Alabama. But that's just buy, sell, or hold. 6-pack of questions here when you talk about this particular Crimson Tide team. We go to our first break here on the show. Don't touch that dial. Just getting started, because upon our return, we get to the phone lines here to take your calls, your thoughts, your opinions, your conversations right after this.
You're watching In My Own Words with Stephen M. Smith, brought to you by We Own the Fourth Quarter. Get your four-finger bling necklace today by visiting weownthefourthquarter.com. Throw them foes up. Every sports fan deserves the proper representation. Whitwell Sports introduces to you the Title Towel. Wave that Title Towel in the air like you just don't care in support of Nick Saban and the Alabama Crimson Tide. Only $9.99 and it lasts a lifetime. Head on over to whitwellsports.com and get your Title Towel today.
Remember the taste of Grandma's delicious sweets? Emily's Heirloom Pound Cakes brings back those precious memories with just one bite. Each cake made from scratch. They make the perfect dessert to share with family and friends for any occasion, and ordering is easy. Visit emily'sheirloompoundcakes.com. Click the online store and shop. Then pick up your fresh cake at the kitchen in downtown Homewood. Order yours online at emily'sheirloompoundcakes.com. Emily's Heirloom Pound Cakes, making memories from scratch.
And we're back in here, folks. Back in here to the action from the break of number one form for Bama football news. Getting that work week started off for you correctly. In my own words, yours truly, Stephen Smith of Touchdown Alabama Magazine. Appreciate everybody for checking out the show on today. And gotta shout out Jimmy Cash Man Clay starting us off with a bang. That $100 donation in the Super Chats, taking care of that daily Super Chat goal of $75, but right behind him, we got my man Bill from NYC. Bill from New York right here. Bill, that $15 via the money order. Appreciate my man Bill from NYC, the Big Apple, New York City, helping us out here on the show. Appreciate Jimmy Clay and Bill from New York showing us the love here on the YouTube channel. As we're back in here from the break, we go to the phone lines to take your calls. The call segment brought to you by the Blue Wrench Gang, 205-448-1358. That's the number right there to let your voice be heard on the show, 205-448-1358. And one more time, 205-448-1358. We grab a call right now. You're live on the show. What's going on?
Boy, I tell you what, Stephen, Jimmy, Clay, and Bill throwing this money around tonight. I'm going to have to put my sunglasses on. Ooh, it's like Smitty had that yellow suit on last night. I got to wear my sunglasses at night. What's going on?
Doing good, Waylon, doing great. I mean, Smitty looked good. Smitty looked clean in that suit. So we all know, legend at Alabama, of course, on the football field. He's legendary in terms of his clothing style, the suits. He's legendary in terms of what he's going to look to do where the Philadelphia Eagles are concerned. And he became the first, receiver since Tyrone Prothro to win an ESPY for Alabama. So Smitty is living right. He's living right now.
Yeah, I think that was the first ESPY since 2006. But I got us a little poem here to kick it off here. SEC Media Days next week. I tell you, you got to look on your calendar now, gentlemen. First Friday in August, that'll be the 6th. It'll be time for college football practice. Alabama will be on the field right around the corner. Everybody in the Blue Wrench Gang, y'all looking good. Y'all lighting it up with all this money. I got to put my glasses on. Too much money here is blinding me. Everybody in the cities, towns, countries, and states, TDA loves y'all. They appreciate you. I do too. So I'm going to see if we can do this poem tonight and get everybody through the week. Y'all hold on. Here we go. In 2020, the COVID-19 came. Not a fan in college football thought we would play a game. The doors flew open, the shutters parted. Once again, Alabama left the college football world all broken-hearted. Now it's 2021. It's time to get it on. Miami, in my opinion, damn, you better stay home. Oh, the Auburn Tigers did say this. They said they would love to see the college football expansion. They might be able to beat Alabama twice. What's them fools down there at Auburn drinking? John, Stephen, and Justin will keep the season rolling. I suggest all the people stay tuned in to TDA. It's flat smoking. I'll see y'all in a few weeks. Bye-bye, everybody.
Appreciate that call that coming from Waylon, another legendary poem from our own Waylon, starting us off here on the show as always. 205-448-1358. That's the number to call in, 205-448-1358. We pick up our second call of the evening. You're live on the show. What's going on?
Hey, Stephen M. It's Robert from Mobile.
Rob, what's happening, man?
This is definitely a make or break for Pete Golding this year. We saw some improvements last year. The defense, we had its hiccups, which drove us all crazy. But down the stretch, when it counted, especially in the playoffs, they came through. They, holding Notre Dame to essentially nothing. The few points they got were meaningless. And Ohio State, that was holding them just 24, was outstanding for the defense. It was just a great accomplishment. It almost made up for the 40-something we gave to Florida and the 40-something we gave to Ole Miss and a few other hiccups we had and last year. But I said it really didn't make up for it because they won the championship, and then down the stretch defense was outstanding. But this year, a lot is expected. Okay, guy, what do you do when? Okay, now we are expecting a lot. Now we are expecting not to see teams not score 20 points or 24 points like Alabama used to do, but not see a 48-point Ole Miss shootout or a 46-point Florida shootout. You got to start keeping teams below that, and watching running backs run wide open out of the backfield, that kind of thing. It's time for that the kind of stuff to get cleaned up. A few times we saw the defense looking to the sideline, especially in the Ole Miss game, looking confused, like they didn't know what to do. We don't want to see games like that. From what we're being told, we got the talent to where we shouldn't see games like that. Now, are the powerhouses in the college football going to get 20 points, 25 points, maybe even 30 points? Yeah, we're fine with that. It's just the other cluelessness that we saw last year with the defense in spurts and at times. All right, we better not see that this time with this defense. Otherwise, you don't have it all together, and it is maybe time to go looking for somebody else. But again, like you said, got to give them credit for last season. Down the stretch, defense did its job and did its job exceptionally well. They were down the stretch at those playoff games where you couldn't ask for better defensive performance then. So you can do it. We've seen it. We've seen it against the elites. Now we want to see it on a consistent basis against the elites.
I agree with you, Rob. I agree with you, Rob. We appreciate that call from Robert from Mobile. I agree that this is a huge year for Pete Golding. He knows this. He's very aware of this. On top of that, Alabama knows the talent it's got back on the front line, the talent it's got in the linebacking core, the talent it's got in the secondary. So this defense, I've mentioned this before, they've heard it for 3 years since 2018 about how no longer dominant as it used to be, and they're looking forward to going out there and showing you that it's still dominant, it still can make plays, it still can be a smash mouth type of defense. But appreciate Robert from Mobile there. We go to another call. You're live on the show. What's going on?
Hey, roll tide, Steven.
What's happening?
Well, I have kind of a two-part thing. Last year, Smitty took a big step in his development and became the receiver he was because our new, training coordinators saw him and said, what you need is an extra burst after you catch the ball. And that's why he became so dangerous last year. I was wondering if John Mechie, as the number one receiver this year, is getting that same kind of training. And also, because we have such a young quarterback, do you think Saban is going to stick with the 50-50 run pass, or is he going to try and protect that young quarterback and run the ball more this year? Thanks a lot. I'll listen off the air.
Absolutely. So the first thought there on Mechie. Mechie is also working with Dr. Matt Ray, the director of our performance science speed doctor here for the Crimson Tide. So Mechie trying to get faster, and he understands that this year he has to be the number one guy and lead a very young group of receivers. So Mechie's working on his craft, absolutely. And then the second part of that question, I think Saban does want to run the ball more, just due to you want to have not as much pressure on Bryce Young. Not saying that Bryce Young can't rise to the occasion, because he very well can, and he has the wherewithal and the capability to do that. But at the same time, I also see Alabama going to more of running the football, just trying to have Bryce Young not do everything, because when your quarterback is put in a situation where they feel like they have to do everything, then that becomes problematic, that becomes an issue, that becomes some trouble. So Mechie working with Dr. Matt Ray, absolutely getting that speed in order. Bryce Young, I could see 50-50. I can also see maybe a little bit of 60-40 run to pass, but we'll see how Nick Saban and Bill O'Brien played out there. Got to shout out Mechanic, baby! Mechanic that came in here! Mechanic, woo! That 125 in the Super Chats. Appreciate that love there from Mechanic coming up in here, big balling on the show here, showing us that love there. Quick little topic. We're going to get to one Blake Sims right here. Blake Sims, folks, how about it? Blake Sims for the Spokane Shock. He's in the Indoor Football League. He played in his first big football game since 2014 when he was a starting quarterback for the University of Alabama. And Sims had a 4-touchdown performance for the Shock in the IFL. The Shock won their matchup over the weekend. Blake Sims, interviewed by reporters, was crying, had a lot of emotion, just so happy to be back on a football field doing what he loves for the first time in quite some time. He looked sharp, he looked quick, he looked fast, he looked explosive, looked athletic, throwing the football with precision. So proud to see this Bama legend doing what he does and continuing to have fun dancing, doing what he does, playing the game of football. Big ups there to one. Blake said, kind of my brother right there. We go to another break here on the show, but upon our return, people, we will dive into one Bill O'Brien and what would be defining success for him in his first season as the offensive coordinator for Bama. We'll talk Billy O after this.
You know what we do at the start of the fourth quarter. We throw them foes up. But now you don't have to wait until the fourth quarter. Get your 4-finger bling necklace at WeOwnTheFourthQuarter.com. It's the first and only logo that captures the essence of all Crimson Tide players and fans as we represent the legendary Alabama football fourth quarter dominance. Get your 4-finger bling necklace right now at WeOwnTheFourthQuarter.com. Get yours today and stun on them haters. Touchdown Alabama Magazine is Alabama football's premier publication. A subscription to Touchdown Alabama Magazine is the perfect gift for any Alabama fan. For exclusive news and information, recruiting updates, a free annual print magazine, and more, go to touchdownalabama.com and click join. Only $7.95 per month or pay $74.95 for a full year subscription. That's a yearly saving of $20. Go to touchdownalabama.com today and roll Tide. Thank you for tuning in. Show your support right now by clicking that like button. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button now and enable all notifications to make sure you don't ever miss any of the best Alabama football news, notes, and information right here on Touchdown Alabama.
We're back in here from the break of a number one forum for Bama football news. In my own words, yours truly, Stephen Smith of Touchdown Alabama Magazine. Now, you know I love all of the fans out there. I love all of you guys. I love every last one of you donators, supporters to the show. But I just gotta say this, man. It is something incredible to see Mechanic and Jimmy Clay in this competition they got going on. I mean, this is fantastic. You got Mechanic dropping something, then Jimmy Clay, then Mechanic, then Jimmy comes back. I mean, this is just real love right here as Jimmy Clay's responded with a $50 donation towards the $125 that was dropped in by Mechanic. It is full-fledged, love, full-fledged joy, full-fledged excitement. Appreciating Jimmy Clay, Mechanic, every last one of you guys helping us out here, making this your channel as we try to do our very best to give you what you guys desire, which is Crimson Tide football and the most up-to-date information when it comes to that Crimson Tide football. But as we're back in here from the break of a number one forum here, we look at one Billy O'Brien. And this is one topic that you as Tide Nation, you are very intrigued by. you're very interested by. And the reason why is after seeing the wow factor that Steve Sarkisian put on our faces a season ago and how he was able to conduct and construct the offense, the question is, can Bill O'Brien do the same thing? Can he give us that same wow factor? Can he provide that same joy? Can he provide that same spark? Can he provide that same type of enthusiasm as an offensive coordinator? These are things that we kind of want to know, that we kind of want to see, because, defensively, there's not just a whole bunch of questions or issues that are on that side of the ball versus offensively. You really want to know the marriage of Bill O'Brien to this offense. What can he bring? What can he do for Bryce Young? What can he do for John Mechie? What can he do for these offensive linemen? What can he do for the running backs? Like what can Bill O'Brien do to continue this bolt, this burst, this jolt of offensive evolution or offensive production that Alabama has been on? And for me, I feel like there are 5 things. There are 5 things that would define a successful season here for Bill O'Brien. Now, will he hit on all 5 of these? Who knows? But to me, there are 5 things aside from winning a conference championship and winning a national title that would define success here for O'Brien. So the first thing here off the top is average at least 40 points per game. If Bill O'Brien can have his Alabama offense average at least 40 points per game, that's success there for Billy O. At least that. We saw Sarkisian average at darn near 50 at 48.5. If Bill O'Brien could have the likes of guys like Bryce Young, Jace McClellan, Jaleel Billingsley, John Mechie, this entire offense average at least 40, at least a 40-piece per game, I feel like U.S. fans, you guys would be happy with that. Y'all would be thrilled with that. Y'all would be okay with that. And that would be, the first step in defining that type of success there for O'Brien as a first-year offensive coordinator at Alabama, averaging that 40 points per game. The next thought I had here in my mind is if O'Brien can coach Bryce Young to have 3,000 passing yards and at least 35 total touchdowns, I think that's doable. If he can have Bryce Young 3,000 passing yards, at least 35 total touchdowns, whether that's, 30 passing touchdowns and 5 rushing touchdowns, or 28 passing touchdowns and 7 rushing scores, no matter what the dynamics of the numbers end up being, at least 3,000 yards passing and 35 total scores. I think if O'Brien can have Bryce Young, put him in a situation to put up those types of numbers, that's defining success there for O'Brien, just due to, and I mentioned this before, if you look at no matter where O'Brien has been in his coaching career, whether college at Penn State or at the NFL level with the Patriots or the Texans, he has gotten his quarterbacks to at least 30-plus touchdowns. He did it for Tom Brady. He did it with Deshaun Watson. He did it with, the guys he had in college. So at least 30-plus. But for Bryce Young, if he could have it 35 total, 3,000 passing yards, that would be defining success right there for O'Brien. Number 3, and this goes back to a thought that U.S. fans had in the call segment is, if he can have at least one 1,000-yard rusher, if Bill O'Brien can pop at least one 1,000-yard back, that'll be huge right here. And Bama's got 5 of them on the roster. We discussed Brian Robinson, Jace McClellan, Roydell Williams, Trey Sanders, of course, Kamara Wheaton, the freshman, on the team right now also. But if Bill O'Brien can pop one 1,000-yard back and have that balance between the run and pass game. Now, could it be possible for O'Brien to pop 2 1,000-yard backs? It could be. It could be possible. You go back to 2012, that was the last year Bama had 2 1,000-yard backs, T.J. Yeldon and Eddie Lacy. 2014, Bama came close to having it again with Derrick Henry at 990 yards, T.J. Yeldon at 979 yards. Unfortunately, it couldn't even get one 1,000-yard back because Lane Kiffin did not continue to run the football against Ohio State in the Sugar Bowl, but that's besides the point. The point being, If Bill O'Brien can pop out at least one 1,000-yard back here from this group here that you see on screen, it'll be huge or big in defining some success, big success in his first year as an offensive coordinator. But next thought here on the list is, if O'Brien can have 5 guys catch at least 20 passes, this goes to spreading that wealth around with Bryce Young. Not necessarily force-feeding one guy, but having multiple guys touch the football. We saw Sarkisian do this in 2019 with Tua. We also saw Sark do this in 2020 with Mac Jones. We saw Mike Loxley do this in 2018 with Tua, and that was when the term joyless murder ball was born. But for Bill O'Brien, can he have at least 5 guys catch at least 20 passes? And the 5 guys, you can look at, John Mechie's got to have at least 20 passes, 20 catches. Slade Bolden, at least 20 catches. Jamison Williams, but transfer from Ohio State. Can he fit in there, getting at least 20 catches? And then you got Jaleel Billingsley at tight end, Cameron Latou at tight end. Maybe a running back out the backfield. Maybe a Jace McClellan can have 20 catches, having that, Najee Harris type of season from last year. No matter who becomes the guys to do that and helping Bryce Young spread the wealth around, you want everybody on the field offensively, especially skill guys, to be a threat with the ball in their hands, forcing the opposing defenses to guard everybody, to take on everybody, to focus on everybody. And when that happens and you put that stress on a defense, they don't know what to do there. So when you look at just the potential of having 5 guys catch at least 20 passes, that'll be huge success there for O'Brien. And so last but not least, in my opinion, if O'Brien can have maybe one player, if he can have at least one player win a national award offensively or a major award offensively, and this is, if he can have a Bryce Young be an SEC Player of the Year, that'd be a major award. If he can have a John Mechie win the Biletnikoff Award, that'd be huge. If he can have maybe a B-Rob or Jace McClellan win the Doak Walker, that'd be huge. If he could have, on the offensive line, if Evan Neal can pick up, the Outland Trophy or the SEC's Jacobs Blocking Trophy, that'd be huge. Just any of these particular, marquee players here, if they can win national honors, major honors here, I think that'll be huge for O'Brien as well. Just talking about things that would count as or define success for O'Brien as a first-year offensive coordinator, aside from, the obvious thing, which is winning a conference championship, winning a national championship for the Crimson Tide. But that's going to take us to our next break here. Upon our return, we'll jump back into the phone lines. Fans, I mean, what do you think? What are your thoughts? What, in your opinion, would define success here for Bill O'Brien in his first year, aside from a conference championship and a national title? We'll take your thoughts right after this.
Don't touch that dial. Call in right now as we're taking your calls up next on In My Own Words with Stephen M. Smith, brought to you by We Own the Fourth Quarter. Visit weownthefourthquarter.com now to get your 4-finger bling necklace. You know what we do at the start of the fourth quarter. We throw them foes up. But now you don't have to wait until the fourth quarter. Get your 4-finger bling necklace at weownthefourthquarter.com. It's the first and only logo that captures the essence of all Crimson Tide players and fans as we represent the legendary Alabama football fourth quarter dominance. Get your 4-finger bling necklace right now at weownthefourthquarter.com. Get yours today and stun on them haters. Touchdown Alabama Magazine is Alabama football's premier publication. A subscription to Touchdown Alabama Magazine is the perfect gift for any Alabama fan. For exclusive news and information, recruiting updates, a free annual print magazine, and more, go to touchdownalabama.com and click join. Only $7.95 per month, or pay $74.95 for a full year subscription. That's a yearly saving of $20. Go to touchdownalabama.com today and roll Tide. Thank you for tuning in. Show your support right now by clicking that like button. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button now and enable all notifications to make sure you don't ever miss any of the best Alabama football news, notes, and information right here on Touchdown Alabama.
As we're back in here, folks, from the break, I mean, You guys with the super chats had my man John Ivory turned up with that horn. Apologizing there for that last little horn there. But as we're back in here from the break of number one forum for Bama football news, in my own words, yours truly, Stephen Smith of Touchdown Alabama Magazine. We're going to go to the phone lines right now to take your calls. Call segment brought to you by the Blue Wrench Gang, 205-448-1358. That's number right there to let your voice be heard on the show, 205-448-1358. And one more time, 205-448-1358. Definitely want to hear from you guys as you're getting your thoughts in here. I'm going to go to a quick little topic, and that is one Devonta Smith taking home the ESPY for best male college athlete. And, Smitty, well deserving of that honor there. He looked clean cut in his suit there on the show, on the set, but very much so deserving of the award, especially after the year he put in this in 2020, his final season at Alabama, leading the nation for receptions at 117, yards with 1,856, touchdown receptions with 23, won every award imaginable, including the Heisman Trophy. Just did so many incredible things in his final season with the Crimson Tides. That trophy case continues to stockpile, even before he takes the field for his first game as a member of the Philadelphia Eagles. Smith drafted number 10 overall in this past venue by the franchise. So cool there to see Smitty getting that award there from the ESPYs for best male college athlete, becoming the first Bama receiver since Tyrone Prothro in 2006 to win an ESPY. Prothro won for his catch against Southern Mississippi in 2005, where he trapped the ball on the back of Jasper Falk's neck. The two jostled and rode into the end zone, and they called it a catch there by Prothro. Still cannot believe that ball was caught. I mean, I still cannot believe that ball was caught there by Devonta Smith, but it's going to be interesting. But in talking more about, me having sailed there or not going with the second consecutive perfect season for Alabama, I just think it's hard to do. I mean, going perfect is already hard as it is, and now you're coming back with new team, the pieces that were lost offensively, including Steve Sarkisian, and you got a full schedule back. You got full capacity of crowd back. The target's on your back, which the target is almost always on Alabama's back. I just sense it's always difficult to try to redo perfection or capitalize on perfection. When you go 12-0, 13-0. You did not lose. You got everybody's best shot, and you still found a way to come out successful in the win column. To do that again takes intense focus, takes unbelievable focus. Now, I'm not saying that Alabama and Nick Saban do not have intense, unbelievable focus. That's not me saying that at all whatsoever. It's just this year or time around, Florida's going to be really good. Texas A&M, people are expecting Jimbo Fisher to do something, be good. You're hosting Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin in Tuscaloosa. You always know Lane Kiffin's got something up his sleeve. That's going to be a challenging game. You've got, LSU. Even though LSU is trying to hold on to that national championship trophy for dear life because they know the NCAA is going to look for any type of way to do an investigation down there. LSU is going to try to be somewhat better than what they were a season ago. But, of course, Auburn in the Iron Bowl. Every time Auburn has a first-year head coach, they are hyper-aggressive. They were hyper-aggressive with Gene Chizik. They were hyper-aggressive first year with Gus Malzahn. With Brian Harsin coming over here from Boise State, you don't know the man's strategy. You don't know the man's scheme. You don't know the man's MO. You don't know what this guy is known for doing or pulling off out there on the field. So you have to keep your head on a swivel where that's concerned. So, could there be a second perfect season consecutively? Maybe. I just don't see it because of how tough it is to go perfect twice. How tough it is to go perfect in consecutive formats here. But Hey, we'll see what happens. We take another break here on the show. People, don't touch that dial, because when we get back, we jump into the top 5 defensive players for Alabama football in the upcoming season. We tidy up loose ends with that right after this.
If you're an avid Alabama Crimson Tide fan and you love to flaunt it, then show your Alabama Crimson Tide support by grabbing the All-Bama sneakers. They feature bold Crimson Tide graphics, so no one will be able to question where your allegiance lies. When you add these sweet sneakers to your Alabama Crimson Tide collection, go to stsfootwear.com and use the code TDAlabama for $15 off your purchase. That's code TDAlabama for $15 off your purchase. Go to stsfootwear.com and get your All-Bama sneakers today. Touchdown Alabama Magazine is Alabama football's premier publication. A subscription to Touchdown Alabama Magazine is the perfect gift for any Alabama fan. For exclusive news and information, recruiting updates, a free annual print magazine, and more, go to touchdownalabama.com and click join. Only $7.95 per month, or pay $74.95 for a full year subscription. That's a yearly saving of $20. Go to touchdownalabama.com today and roll Tide.
All right, people, we're back in here on a Monday from the break of number 1 form for Bama football news. Getting that work week started off for you correctly in my own words. Yours truly, Stephen Smith of Touchdown Alabama Magazine. Appreciate everybody for checking out the show on today. And before we get into final topic of conversation here, gotta remind you of TDAwear.com. That is TDAwear.com. For all of you Tide fans still overjoyed with Alabama's national championship, we want you guys to check out our championship collection merch. Now, this means you grab you an 18 of them thing folk hoodie, t-shirt, or sweatshirt, as well as our Got 18 We Do shirts. Designs that feature all 18 championship years in the back. You head on over right now. Do it right now. TDAwear.com. That's TDAwear.com. Do it right now. You go to the championship collections merch tab, and you get you those shirts, that gear today, showing that support for Coach Saban, the University of Alabama, the student athletes, and us here at Touchdown Alabama Magazine. Well, last week I dove into the top 5 offensive players for Alabama football coming up for this season. So it's only right, it's only fair that I do the defense justice, and I dive into the top 5 defensive players for Alabama. This defense can potentially be as scary as the 2016 defense was. So many people have been talking about it. So many people have been discussing it this offseason. How good can this defense be? How elite can it be? How dominant can it be? How exciting can it be? It can be just as scary as the 2016 defense, especially if all various factors click the way they need to click. So from 5 to 1 here, top 5 most important defensive players for Alabama. At number 5 here, starting this out the gate, defensive lineman Phidarian Mathis. Big Phil Mathis. This is a huge year for him. In terms of draft status, this is a big year for him, but also in terms of being the leader, anchor, the linchpin starter on that defensive line, taking over duties for the departed Christian Barmore, who's now in the NFL with the New England Patriots. So all the energy, all the fire, all the personality and the production that Barmore had a season ago, people are expecting Big Phil Mathis to carry the self-same torch, and he's got the opportunity and he's got the ability to do that. He had a good year last year. 31 tackles, 5 of those for loss, 1.5 sacks. He put up some good numbers last year, but now it's time for him to take it to the next step, the next level in anchoring, running a defensive line that's got a whole bunch of depth, rotating 8 to 10, possibly 12 guys deep along the front in that rotation. So number 5, Phidarian Mathis, big season for him. Moving on up to number 4 here, we go with Jordan Battle in the secondary at the safety position, and Battle is a film junkie. Once again, this is a big year for him in terms of his draft status, but also I feel like the secondary it could potentially be the strength of a team. I know the defensive line is a major strength. Linebacking core, major strength. But I look at the secondary, when you talk about the veterans on this group, you've got Josh Jobe, who's a senior, older guy. You've got Jalen Armour-Davis, yes, on the field, hasn't played all that much as a starter, but has immense experience within the system in terms of the knowledge of the playbook. Then you've got experience in other guys, on that defensive secondary as well. But I look at Jordan Battle, number 4 guy here, his ability to call the defensive strategies, line up there, scheme there from his safety spot, his ability to break on the football, make huge tackles, make big hits, secure tackles, force turnovers, force plays, force big opportunities there for the defense out of the back end. Number 4 there for me, definitely Jordan Battle here, which goes down to the third most important player. It's Malachi Moore. Malachi Moore, to me, we've all have seen the comparisons. We've been giving out the comparisons to him to one Minkah Fitzpatrick, and it is validated that we have those comparisons because of the way that Malachi played last season. The 3 interceptions he had to lead the team, the 7 pass breakups that he had, him being freshman All-SEC, second team All-SEC, freshman All-American, up for even bigger and better here this season. And I feel like this is a guy that's going to increase that number of interceptions. He could have 5 picks this year. He could have 5 picks. He could have a pick 6. He could have a couple of pick 6. I mean, who knows? Could have a couple of pick 6s in this upcoming venue. To me, I think he's in a position to possibly get the Jim Thorpe Award, get the Chuck Bednarik Award, maybe the Bronco Nagurski Award, first team All-SEC, first team All-American. I mean, he's in that boat to pull in a lot of major hardware here. But for him, he's always been focused. He's always been hard-nosed. He's always been instinctive. He's always had that high football IQ, especially in that slot corner position, a spot where Nick Saban plays his most versatile defensive backs in that star, that nickel corner role. There's number 3, Malachi Moore, in a sense of watch the number of interceptions he has potentially increase here for this upcoming season. Going on up to number 2, in terms of most important players, Will Anderson's number 2. This defense is going to run with Will Anderson. It will run with Will at that outside jack rush linebacker position. We saw the numbers he had a season ago. Could have very well had more if he would have finished a couple of plays, but despite that, still explosive, still dominant, still really, really good. If he can average 2 to 3 sacks per game this season, he will break the Derek Thomas single-season sack record of 27 sacks, which Derek Thomas has held since 1988. If Will Anderson can average 2 to 3 sacks per game this season, watch out for that record potentially coming down here. But, a guy that's working with Dr. Matt Ray, working with David Ballou, he's got his speed numbers, power numbers, strength numbers, performance numbers in the offseason program. Everything is exponentially higher. He has increased everything in terms of percentages. So big year here for Will Anderson, getting after the quarterback, the number 2 most important defensive player. Which means number 1, self-explanatory, is Christian Harris. This is his defense. He's calling the scheme. He's calling the formations. He's calling the packages. He's flying around the field. He's having this group play with its hair on fire. He said it in the spring. This is my defense. I'm running it. I'm making sure everybody is where they need to be in. Everybody is in the right zone, in the right pocket, in the right step, in the right hole, making the right play, and that we are a fearsome, and by we referring to Alabama football, we are a fearsome, dominant, elite, marquee group here. A season ago, Christian Harris, 79 tackles, 7 of those for loss, had 4.5 sacks, just flying all over the football, had the big interception against Notre Dame in the Rose Bowl matchup, college football playoff semifinal down there in Texas. So Christian Harris, this group will run as he goes. Like this is the leader. This is the front man where this Alabama defense is concerned. And after Dylan Moses didn't have the year that we all thought he would have, I think this season Christian Harris will have the year that we all kind of expect for him to have, and possibly pick up a Dick Butkus award there along the way. But those are just the 5 guys that I have there, most important defensive players for the Crimson Tide for this upcoming season. As always, Tide Nation, you want the best in news, notes, and material here for your program, that being Alabama football. You can get this by accessing the Touchdown Alabama Magazine app. You download the app from the iPhone App Store. If you're rocking Team Apple, Google Play Store, if you got the Android phone. For your audio listening needs, we got you right here, iTunes or Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Spreaker, Overcast.fm, Google Play, TuneIn Radio, and iHeartRadio. Got you covered right there. If the good and gracious Lord sees fit, I'll be back on Wednesday, continuing the conversation that is Tide football. As always, Bama fans, you can purchase individual copies of Touchdown Alabama Magazine. Have those sent to your door. That link will be in the description. If you're also trying to get the fresh copy, the new copy, the print edition of TDA, the magazine, you can go to touchdownalabama.com, click join, become a member, a subscriber today. That link is in the description. If you're also trying to get that 4-finger bling necklace, 4-finger bling jewelry, courtesy of our guys at weownthefourthquarter.com. That's weownthefourthquarter.com. That link in the description as well. But until next time, folks, husbands, love your wives. Wives appreciate, value those husbands. Children, continue doing the right thing, the fun thing, the smart thing, the good thing, the legitimate thing. To not be bored. You get you those 3 hearty meals a day, those 3 great laughs a day. Protect yourself, protect the loved ones around you. Until next time, folks, it's been in my own words.